My son said, "Mom's plane crashed. Discover the incredible 18 million, we claim, but I survived." The rain pounded against the windows, a relentless downpour, as if the skies shared in Emily's mounting dread. 5-year-old Jake stood before her, eyes wide and terrified, his small body trembling as he uttered the words that shattered her world. Mom's plane crashed. Panic rose like bile in her throat. She felt the walls of her modest home close in, engulfed by an overwhelming sense of confusion. She had spent years carving a space within the demanding corridors of her hospital, ensuring every pulse, every heartbeat mattered. How could everything unravel in a heartbeat? She knelt, cradling Jake, who was shaking with fear. "What do you mean?" Her heart raced. The connection to her colleagues, those doctors she trusted, was palpable. They were set to fly out for a pivotal training when news of the crash broke on the radio. Emily felt the creeping tendrils of despair wrap around her like a vice grip, squeezing out reason. She fought to contain her emotions, to weave through the room where the air thickened with dread, even as she wrestled with the lowest pit of her stomach where guilt and anxiety collided. "Jake," she whispered, but the words felt heavy, like lead in her mouth. Was it guilt? Her nursing career had dedicated her to saving lives, yet now she teetered on the edge of potentially losing so much. And for what? She felt forced into an unnerving new role where the darkness consumed her thoughts. Would she be strong enough to guide Jake through this? How could they face a world that had snatched away the very individuals she had grown to admire? As tears caught in her throat, she dared to look away from Jake to check the news update flashing across the television screen. Her breath caught as they confirmed there were no survivors. The weight of the tragedy was crushing. She had known those faces just yesterday. They had shared laughs and camaraderie, invested in her potential as a nurse. But now they were gone, and she was left with the hollowness echoing in her heart. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as she began to gather her thoughts and the initial storm of panic began to settle, an unexpected letter arrived, breaking the silence. "You are the heir to 18 million, it read. The words felt like an intrusion, a dissonant jolt against vivid sorrow. A fortune inherited amid tragedy? Joy felt remote, as if drowned by the weight of those she had lost. She glanced at Jake, searching for stability, but felt the pull of her community growing heavier, the sudden expectation that she should be a beacon of hope. Why had her estranged relative chosen this moment to reveal themselves? The suffocating bundle of anxieties spiraled. Should she accept the money that now tangled her in responsibilities she hadn't asked for? Emily's mind raced with unanswerable questions that clawed at her sanity. Guilt gnawed at her conscience, while ambition tempted her with its glittering allure. Shifting between her desires for security and the mounting burden of integrity, she felt torn. She needed to speak to someone. Mr. Thompson, her retired neighbor, could help her untangle this mess of grief and potential. Just as she weighed her choices, another envelope found its way into her trembling hands. This letter spoke of dark conspiracies, secrets buried far beyond the tragic crash. The truth about her family was about to upend her fragile world again. Would she find redemption? Or would the pursuit of wealth ensnare her in web of deceit? As the rain beat against the windows, Emily stood suspended at the crossroads of fate, her heart racing with fear, yet bursting with determination. As the rain continued to batter the windows, Emily drew a deep breath, grounding herself in the present. She had to process not only the emotional fallout of the plane crash, but also the dual weight of her inheritance and the ominous letters in her hands. The first step was to untangle the threads of her shocking reality. Jake's small hand tugged at her sleeve, his innocent gaze searching for comfort. "Mom, is everything okay?" he asked. In that moment, Emily felt the weight of his trust resting squarely on her shoulders. Fear threatened to spill over, but she closed her eyes and forced a calm facade. "It will be, buddy. We'll figure it out together." Emily's mind swirled with the implications of the letters. She thought of the 18 million, the promise of security for Jake's future, yet it felt like a curse too, entangled with the painful loss of her friends and colleagues. Would they want her to accept money that could taint her memory of them? A flicker of defiance ignited within her. No, she wouldn't let their legacies die with them, nor would she allow an inheritance to define her. "First things first," she murmured to herself, glancing at the envelope marked with urgency. Mr. Thompson had always been a reliable source of wisdom. His years of experience and down-to-earth perspective could help navigate the murky waters ahead. She grabbed her coat, feeling the fabric's weight press against her determination, and took Jake's hand. "Let's visit Mr. Thompson." The roadside looked grim under the curtain of rain, but she welcomed the distraction from her racing thoughts. Each step was heavy yet empowering, as if she was shedding layers of doubt with every stride. Arriving at Mr. Thompson's front porch, she knocked, her heart drumming with anticipation. The door creaked open, revealing the kind yet weathered face of her neighbor. "Emily! What a surprise in this weather! Come in," he exclaimed. His warmth provided a shelter from the storm outside, a brief respite from the turmoil in her heart. She could see his eyes flicker with concern, but he did not pry. Instead, he led her into the cozy living room, offering steaming tea, its scent calming her frayed nerves. After a few pleasantries, she decided to cut to the chase. "Mr. Thompson, I received some shocking news today," she began, feeling the heaviness of the words swell in her throat. "My friends, they died in a plane crash, and I discovered that I am heir to $18 million from a distant relative." He listened intently, his brow creasing as she relayed the details of the letters. When she'd finished, the silence stretched, thick with unspoken thoughts. Finally, he broke it with a measured tone. "Emily, with wealth comes responsibility. Have you thought about what this means? It's not just money. It brings choices and consequences." His words resonated deeply. Was she ready to face that responsibility amid profound grief? She could be consumed by guilt, paralyzed by indecision, or awaken dormant resolve that she never knew she possessed. "I don't want money to overshadow their memories," she admitted, anxiety bubbling to the surface. "But then, I think about what I can provide for Jake. It's a chance for a better life." Mr. Thompson leaned back, deep in thought. "Sometimes one must confront the skeletons of the past to navigate the future. What do you truly want, Emily? Not for others, but for yourself?" The weight of his question hung in the air, echoing against her doubts. What did she want? Clarity began to wash over her, a chance to exist beyond the tragedy, perhaps even to embody the lives of those she lost, voicing their dreams. Her heart quickened as she recognized the flicker of ambition within her. "Perhaps the time has come to face this head-on," she whispered, ignited by a spark of determination. Would she harness this opportunity to reshape not only her fate, but also elevate the memory of those lost? The rain tapered off as dusk approached, a promise of new beginnings. As she held her ground, she felt the pulse of possibility rushing through her veins. Yet the shadow of the second letter lurked at the edges of her consciousness, laden with threats of buried secrets. As she and Jake prepared to leave, Mr. Thompson's eyes narrowed. "Emily, be careful. You may uncover truths that are better left undisturbed," he cautioned. With every word, the tension mounted. Emily stepped out into the chilling air, the echoes of uncertainty trailing behind her. She picked up Jake's hand, resolved to carve out their path ahead, but still burdened by the shadows of secrets waiting to be revealed. Would she face them, or would they bend her resolve? Standing at the crossroads, the storm inside her felt like a promise of a far greater battle yet to unravel. She took a deep breath, ready to face whatever lay ahead, no matter how daunting. The true confrontation was only beginning. The next day dawned gray and somber, much like Emily's mood. The residue of the previous night's revelations lingered heavily in her thoughts. She could almost hear Mr. Thompson's voice echoing in her mind. "What do you truly want, Emily?" It was unsettling how such a straightforward question morphed into an intricate maze of possibilities, each path laden with its own complexities. As she prepared breakfast, the mundane clattering of dishes offered little solace. Jake, oblivious to her inner turmoil, animatedly narrated the details of a vivid dream, a superhero adventure where he saved a city. His enthusiasm was infectious, a stark contrast to Emily's brooding. She marveled at how effortlessly he embraced optimism, unaware of the shadows that loomed over their lives. "Mom, can I be a superhero too?" he asked, a hopeful gleam lighting up his face. "Of course, sweetheart," she replied, forcing a smile as a flicker of determination sparked within her. If Jake could summon the courage to face imaginary villains, then perhaps she could confront her own uncertainties with the same vigor. The day unfolded into a series of tasks: calls to financial advisors, gathering necessary documents, and, most daunting of all, wrestling with her emotions. The weight of the letters pressed at her chest, reminding her with every tick of the clock. At noon, she decided to look again at the second letter that remained untouched since its arrival. She sat at the dining room table, a tangible divide between her chaotic thoughts and the stillness of the letter. Carefully, she broke the seal, uncertainty flooding her mind. As she unfolded the paper, the words danced before her eyes, each sentence digging deeper into the core of her soul. It wasn't just an inheritance. It included a request, an invitation to a meeting shrouded in cryptic language and urgency. "Meet me at the old Millstream Cemetery," it read. "You need to know the truth about your relatives and the money they left behind." A chill swept through her. An invitation to uncover the lives of those she had lost felt less like closure and more like opening a Pandora's box, potentially unleashing unresolved secrets that could alter everything she thought she knew. What had her relatives hidden? What if uncovering their truths required facing uncomfortable realities about herself? Jake's soft voice broke her concentration. "Mom, can we go to the park?" His innocent request was a reminder of the joys of childhood, of escaping into realms untouched by adult complexities. "Sure, let's go." As they strolled through the park, the bright colors of springtime surrounded them. The sun broke through clouds, illuminating the path ahead. Yet, Emily felt like a marionette, strings tangled in worry and doubt. Each swing and slide Jake traversed felt like a gentle nudge from the universe to move, to decide. Sitting on a weathered bench, Emily watched him play. Her heart swelled with love and a fierce protectiveness. This was her purpose, she realized, protecting Jake's future while honoring the memories of those who had passed. The question Mr. Thompson posed once more nagged at her. What did she truly want? The thought crystallized into clarity. She wanted to be a mother who could provide a secure and meaningful life for her son, free from the shackles of fear and loss. If finding out about her inheritance and the letter could help her achieve that, then she owed it to herself and Jake to uncover the truth. She stood, drawn back into the moment, feeling a pulse of purpose driving her. The cemetery meeting seemed inevitable. This journey had transformed from a burden into a call to action. As the echoes of laughter filled the air, a storm brewed within her, a mix of determination and dread. With newfound clarity, Emily took Jack's hand. They walked home, her thoughts swirling with plans and possibilities as the cemetery loomed in her mind, waiting to reveal its secrets. But what awaited her there? Would the truths uncovered empower her, or would they hold the power to shatter her fragile resolve? The thought sent tremors through her. She had taken the first steps, but the next would be the hardest. As they reached home, the envelope remained clenched in her hand, the weight of it a constant reminder of what lay ahead. She had made her choice. Tomorrow she would confront her past, and whatever awaited her at Millstream Cemetery would demand every ounce of strength she possessed. Emily whispered to herself, "I am ready." But was she truly prepared for the revelations that awaited her? Only time would tell. The following day greeted Emily with an unsettling chill that penetrated even the cozy confines of her home. Her resolve had solidified. She would meet the mysterious request at Millstream Cemetery. Yet the looming sense of dread was inescapable, gnawing at her as she prepared breakfast with mechanical precision. She could hear the clank of the spatula against the pan, but no matter how much she focused on the tasks at hand, her mind wandered, shackled to the uncertainty ahead. "Mom, are we going to see the grave today?" Jake's voice broke through the fog enveloping her thoughts. His innocent inquiry reminded her of the weight of their destination. "Yes, sweetheart, we are," she answered, forcing a smile as she stirred the cereal. The gravity of the day felt heavy, as if the world outside her kitchen held its breath in anticipation. After breakfast, Emily gathered herself, donning a calm exterior despite the tempest within. She intentionally engaged Jake in chatter about nothing significant, weaving mundane thoughts into the tapestry of their morning. But even as she spoke, her heart hammered in her chest, the reality of what lay ahead shadowing her every word. As they stepped outside, the sky was a slate gray, mirroring the apprehension that clung to her. The short drive to Millstream Cemetery felt like an eternity, her grip on the steering wheel tightening with each passing moment. She glanced at Jake in the rearview mirror. He was already lost in thought, probably envisioning his next adventure instead of realizing the gravity of what they were about to discover. Was it fair to invite him into the whirlwind of her past? Arriving at the cemetery, Emily parked and took a deep breath, hoping the weight of fear could be expelled with a simple exhale. She turned to Jake, whose innocent curiosity sparked a flicker of warmth in her heart. "You ready, superhero?" "Yeah, let's go find some treasure," he declared enthusiastically, which drew a faint laugh from her lips. As they made their way towards the entrance, the birds chirped a hopeful tune, but to Emily, the atmosphere felt more like a storm building on the horizon. She scanned the area, spotting the old gate that led into the heart of the cemetery. The place was steeped in silence, disturbed only by the rustling leaves and an occasional whisper of the wind. This was a sacred space, one filled with echoes of memories long past. Each step they took on the gravel path felt heavier, as if every footfall was weighed down by the expectations she had placed upon herself. "Mom, why are we here?" Jake asked, eyes wide with genuine innocence. Emily hesitated, grappling with the nuanced truth that was hard to explain to a child. "To learn about our family," she replied, her voice steady yet strained. With that simple answer, she unwittingly opened a door to the complexities waiting just beyond the familiar gravestones. As they approached the meeting spot described in the letter, an old oak tree stood sentinel, its branches reaching upwards as if signaling for help from the skies above. Beneath the tree was a weathered stone bench. Emily's pulse quickened as she saw an older figure waiting, one she recognized from faint childhood memories. He had mystique wrapped around him, an unspoken connection to her past, the uncle she barely knew. "Emily," he greeted, his eyes scanning her face for traces of familiarity. Her heart raced, adrenaline coursing through her veins. It was time to confront the first piece of the puzzle, to challenge the narratives she had constructed around her family history. The course of her life, she felt, hung precariously in the balance. "Why did you invite me?" was all she could manage, the words tumbling out, filled with a mix of curiosity and subdued irritation. Would this conversation veer into territories she was not prepared to navigate? His gaze shifted from her to Jake, a flicker of acknowledgement passing between them. "There are things you need to know," things that can change everything. Emily braced herself, the merging of fear and anticipation electrifying her resolve. She had initiated this journey, ready to dig beneath the surface of her inherited past. But what lay beneath could uncover her family's voiceless struggles and triumphs, or threaten to engulf her in the weight of their secrets. "Are you ready to hear the truth?" he asked, and it felt as though time paused on the precipice of revelation. "More than ever," she asserted, finding the courage she didn't know she possessed. But as the clouds thickened overhead, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that perhaps some truths should remain buried, hidden in the shadows of the graves surrounding them. With her heart pounding, she realized that the next climb would be steep, and the summit held the unknown. What awaited her beyond the revelation would either tether her to her family's trust or unravel everything she believed. As she met his gaze, a promise hung between them, and she understood. The beginning of transformation was upon her. The silence between Emily and her uncle was thickening, each second stretching long and taut. She felt the weight of his gaze, the questions hanging like shadows around them. This was not a simple inquiry into family history. This was a judgment day for her past, a summons to confront everything she had evaded since childhood. "Let's sit," he suggested, gesturing toward the stone bench beneath the oak tree. Emily nodded, her legs trembling slightly as she settled onto the cold, hard surface. Engulfed in a tidal wave of emotions, she fought back the instinct to flee. Jake's curiosity lingered, a sweet distraction in the midst of impending revelations, his wide eyes darting between her and the man who was supposed to share their lineage. "Is this Uncle Martin?" Jake blurted, his voice a mixture of innocence and excitement. Emily's heart swelled, appreciating his simple acknowledgement, even as memories surged around her like an uninvited tide. "Yes, buddy, he's your uncle," Emily replied, managing a soft smile for Jake while dread pooled in her stomach. She noticed how Uncle Martin's smile faltered upon hearing their shared title, acknowledging the chasm of history that separated them. "There's a lot you both don't know," he began, his voice steady as he took a deep breath. "About your mom's side of the family and the circumstances that led to her moving away from here." Every word felt like a deliberate step toward unsettling truths. Emily's heart raced while she attempted to give Jake a reassuring look, but he could not comprehend the weight of the words being spoken. "What do you mean?" Emily pressed, needing to break through the fog that shrouded her family's past. It was a question that surfaced during countless nights when she curled up under her blankets, yearning for answers that had evaded her. Uncle Martin's face hardened slightly, shadows playing across his features. "Your mother and I had a falling out after the accident. She lost her way, ran from everything, including her own family. There's a legacy here, Emily. Our family struggled, carried burdens you've barely scratched the surface of." The final word struck her like lightning, rupturing her carefully maintained composure. "Accident? What are you talking about? You mean, what happened to my grandmother?" The faint recollections of hushed conversations and half-formed stories flooded back, her mother's face twisting in sorrow when the subject arose. He met her gaze earnestly. "Yes, it was a terrible day. There were secrets that put our family in danger. Your mother didn't want to burden you with the truth, and I understand why. But you have a right to know who you are." Emotions churned within her, spinning the world she thought she knew into something unrecognizable. Her mother, the woman she idolized for her strength, had hidden pieces of their history so carefully that Emily felt betrayed. The perspective she had adulted into was suddenly riddled with cracks, and she could see the shadows of other lives within it. "Why now, Uncle Martin?" Her voice sharpened, the words dancing on the edge of accusation even as they faltered against the need for understanding. "Why bring me back into this after all this time?" Uncle Martin hesitated, studying her face, and for a moment Emily could almost see her own reflection in his troubled expression. "Because I believe it's time. You and Jake, you're both part of this legacy. There's so much more at stake than just family secrets. There are roots of strength that you can draw from, relics of resilience that you owe to yourself. The weight of those words trailed off into the air, wrapping around them like a shroud. Emily's heart thudded in measured rhythm. She wasn't just there to discover her past. She was being beckoned toward a reckoning that could redefine her into someone entirely new. As the tension mounted, she pondered the idea of resilience. Was it possible for her to claim these fragmented pieces of her family history and weave them into a tapestry brandishing her identity? "What's the first step?" she whispered, almost to herself, as uncertainty danced just beneath the surface. The corners of Uncle Martin's lips tilted upward, a semblance of hope flickering in the shadows of their conversation. "We start with the truth. By unraveling the secrets, you will discover the legacies of strength, and the treasures of the past will resurface, ready for you to claim." Steeling herself for the chaos that was sure to follow, Emily felt the fire of determination flicker to life within her. She was standing on the edge of something monumental, a promise of transformation. And though the path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, she knew it was a journey she was meant to undertake. But as the clouds thickened above them, she couldn't shake the feeling that more was at play. A threat lurking just beneath the surface, threatening to shatter the fragile peace she had fought so hard to recreate. "Will you stay with us?" she breathed, the weight of their shared secrets hanging heavy in the air. "Always," he assured her, but as Emily glanced back at Jake, an unsettling thought seized her. Could the very act of unveiling her family's truths draw dangers older than time itself back into their lives? Emily's world felt precariously balanced on a knife's edge, the recent revelations cracking open old wounds she had long buried. She glanced down at Jake, whose face was a mix of curiosity and innocence, unaware of the storm brewing just beyond their family tree's twisted branches. The convergence of past and present weighed heavily on her. A reckoning awaited, not just for her but for Jake as well, intertwined in a legacy she had yet to fully understand. "First, we need to talk," Uncle Martin said, breaking the silence that enveloped them. Each syllable resonated like a thunderclap, stirring her to active engagement. "This isn't just about finding answers. It's about confronting the fears tied to those answers." Emily felt her heart swell with determination, but was tethered by a lingering doubt. What fears had she inherited? What shadows were creeping toward her future? With clenched fists, she sought to ground herself. "I can do this," she thought, a rallying cry against the uncertainty that nipped at her heels. What happened that day? The accident? Emily's voice trembled at the edges, but she pressed on, steeling herself against the memories she feared would surface. Uncle Martin's expression became grave, the weight of unshed tears almost tangible. "Your grandmother had been involved in something dangerous, something that intertwined her with unsavory people. The accident was no mere mishap." Images of a heroic, enchanting grandmother replaced by a woman embroiled in danger rocked Emily's core. What more had her mother concealed under layers of protective love? Would information mean relinquishing her childhood illusion of family safety? As Uncle Martin recounted the chilling events, a series of betrayals culminating in tragedy, Emily felt her resolve shifting. Each fact unfurled another layer of guilt and obligation. "You were born into this legacy, Emily. It's time you take charge of it," he urged, the firmness in his tone awakening something within her. Charge? She wondered. The word resonated heavily, filled with notions of risk, responsibility, and a challenge that unsettled her. What does that even look like? It was here that something inside her flickered. For years, Emily had interpreted responsibility as a weight, an anchor, but now she began to sense its potential as a catalyst. Could embracing this tumultuous legacy allow her to rise above the fears she had dressed in? Was her family's history not just a series of burdens, but a foundation for something extraordinary? Your path will not be easy, but it can be yours. You must decide how you want to face this, both for yourself and Jake, Uncle Martin said, his voice low but insistent. In that moment, Awareness washed over her like a wave. This was not about forgetting her mother's defense of the past, but honoring it, integrating its lessons. She had the agency to steer her own narrative amidst the chaos. Each revealed truth could be transformed into a powerful testament of resilience, a building block coloring her own and Jake's future. "This has to start with me confronting my past," she murmured, almost to herself. The thought invigorated her. The act of seeking would shape her identity, etching her mother's shadow in a different light. With newfound resolve, Emily turned to Jake, whose trustful gaze melted away her lingering doubts. "We'll face this together. I'll protect you from its shadows." The words took root in her heart, underlining a commitment to the line of strength that flowed through their blood. And so began a path laden with uncertainties, yet flickering with hope. Emily understood that she could reinvent herself through the vulnerabilities of family truths. But as the conversation unfolded, another truth loomed. A confrontation that would stretch into unforeseen territories, testing her newfound strength and resilience. The urgency of the moment quickened. As much as she sought to grasp her identity, there were threads of danger inching closer to Jake. There must be a reason why these truths had remained buried, she thought grimly, feeling an unsettling chill map across her skin. "Uncle Martin, what else do we need to be prepared for?" she asked, her voice demanding yet laced with an undercurrent of fear. But in the depths of her heart, she understood. She needed to reclaim more than just her heritage. She was forging a shield for her son against a world that hid its treacheries beneath charming facades. "Much more than you realize," he replied, a ghost of pain shadowing his features. "The past has a way of creeping back in when you least expect it. We'll need to unite your family, those who want to protect you and Jake." A deeper adventure awaited beyond the threshold of family secrets and histories. Unforeseen alliances would shape their journey, testing the strength of bonds forged through tragedy. The question loomed large, palpable in the air between them. Would they stand together against the oncoming storm, or would the revival of old ghosts tear them apart? Emily's spirit surged at the thought of their upcoming trials, a clarion call urging her toward her destiny, but the shadows of her family's past were growing bolder. How would she face the imminent confrontation that threatened not only her newfound path, but the very lives of those she cherished? The weight of Uncle Martin's words settled heavily over Emily, a precursor to the fierce storm of emotions brewing within her. The gravity of her pursuit transformed into an urgent mission, unearthing truths and preparing for the inevitable confrontation with the past. This newfound sense of purpose ignited a determination she hadn't felt in years, thrumming through her veins like electricity. "Uniting my family," she muttered under her breath, contemplating the implications. How had they come to this fractured state? Would those she sought to gather welcome her or resent the very idea of rekindling connections wrought with pain? As another chill swept through her thoughts, she focused on Jake. His innocent presence anchored her, reminding Emily why she needed to engage in this tangled web of her family's history. He deserved a future unmarred by the past. Their journey began here, but how would she navigate the complexities of her legacy and shield him from its darker undertones? "Jake, do you want to stay with Uncle Martin for a bit?" Emily asked, her voice softer now, careful to mask her inner turmoil. "I don't want to, Mom. I want to be with you," he replied, his sincerity a balm to her simmering anxiety. With a gentle smile, Emily knelt before him, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "We have to figure something out together first. It's important." Her heart was still. This was no longer just about her. They were interlocked in a narrative that might reveal bones best left buried, but together they could confront whatever awaited. "Can we go get ice cream afterward?" Jake's eyes sparkled, a bright distraction from the gloom hovering over their afternoon. Emily chuckled softly, feeling cracks in her icy exterior form. "Sure, ice cream comes after we take care of some grown-up stuff." But as they lingered there, waiting on the precipice of confrontation, the echoes of family secrets encroached on her mind. New questions surfaced and clawed at her resolve. What if gathering the family ignited old feuds? Was she even strong enough to face them? Those musings propelled her into action. "Uncle Martin," she said, her voice firm. "Let's make a plan. Who do we need to contact? What do we say?" The lines around his mouth tightened, concern flickering in his eyes. "It's tricky, Emily. Some might not be eager to see you or remember the past kindly, but this could be your chance to reshape your family narrative, to reclaim the narrative ground lost during the accident." Past hurts painted a particularly daunting picture in her mind. A family riven by scandal, disappointment, and betrayal. Would they see her as an unwelcome bearer of ghosts? "I think I'm ready, but I can't do it alone. I need you to help guide me," she said, a quiet appeal woven into her voice. The thought of stepping into the fray alone felt like diving blind into murky waters. Unexpectedly, Uncle Martin's demeanor softened. "Of course. Remember, you're not just pushing against the past. You're weaving a future. If we can turn this legacy into a point of strength—" He trailed off, an unshakable conviction rooting in both their beliefs. Emily inhaled deeply. Legacy felt like a weight, but maybe it could transform into a source of empowerment rather than despair. Her mind turned, calculating paths toward connection. However, the notion of facing her own relatives clamoring with old grievances clenched her stomach with worry. What if the face of family preservation meant confronting hostility? Could she grapple with that resistance without breaking? The thought struck her like a blow. Clearing her throat, Emily straightened her spine, a flicker of defiance igniting within her. "I will confront whoever it takes. I will reclaim my past for him. I would face 100 enemies if it meant Jake stood on steady ground." "Determination is crucial, but remember to tread carefully," Martin cautioned, a reminder nestled in the fierce blaze of her ambition. Emily nodded, not fully aware of the enormity of the path ahead. With each step she planned to take, she felt a deeper bond of protection form not just for Jake, but for the fragmented story of her family that longed for healing. Resolutely, her thoughts coalesced into a singular focus. Initiation of contact. They would need to rally the family. Who would take the first step? This was her responsibility now. And in that moment, as they discussed the first names on their list, a gnawing feeling punctured her confidence. A vision of estrangement, betrayal, and unexpected confrontations swirled in her mind. She had chosen this path, but at what cost? A sudden ring of her phone cut through the tension, jolting her. The name flashed across the screen like a disturbance in the fog surrounding her resolve, a long-forgotten relative stepping back into the light. The question loomed. Was this a summons to reconciliation, or a resounding echo of family discord? "Who is it?" Uncle Martin asked, a glimmer of apprehension in his eyebrows. Her heart raced. This could be the catalyst for all her plans, or the start of a disaster she hadn't seen coming. Every possibility unfolded in her mind as she hesitated, the screen lit up with a name from her past. The moment to face her family's legacy had arrived, but would it lead down the road to understanding or deeper conflict? Emily's finger hovered over the phone screen, uncertainty swirling like a tempest within her. She recognized the name, yet its contours felt alien. The air felt charged, buzzing with the potential for pain or healing. Every heartbeat thudded in her ears, an insistent reminder of the choice before her: to answer or to sever the tenuous thread connecting her to the past. "Don't forget, whatever happens, I'm here for you," Uncle Martin said, his voice unusually steady against the tempest in her heart. The very solidity of his presence lent her a measure of courage, and slowly she pressed the answer button. "Hello?" she managed, her voice a cautious whisper. "Emily, it's Margaret." The voice on the other end was terse, capable, and immediately transported her to sun-soaked afternoons from her childhood. Margaret had once been an ally, her cousin, her confidant, now a stranger cloaked in webs of resentment from a shared history laced with loss. "Margaret," she breathed, searching for statistics on the shifting landscape of their relationship. "I didn't expect to hear from you." The exchange intensified with long-held grievances lurking just beneath the surface. "I figured it was time to talk," Margaret replied, with the air of someone holding the variables of their shared burden tightly. "You know, with everything that happened, it's hard to move forward without addressing it." A knot tightened in Emily's stomach. "You're right," she said finally, attempting to grasp the fragile opening of dialogue. "I've been thinking a lot about family lately, and how we can make things right." A heavy silence followed. Emily drew a deep breath, calculating her words as if they were precious stones set in a setting rife with cracks. "I want to bring everyone together, Margaret. I hope you'll join me." "I've heard about your plans," Margaret said, her tone stiff. "Why now? Why do you want to resurrect old wounds?" "Because I need to break this cycle of silence and pain." Emily felt a surge of conviction, transforming her uncertainty into clarity. "For Jake. He deserves to know our family, not just the shadows." Margaret's sigh grappled with both disbelief and the reluctant acknowledgement of Emily's shift in perspective. "You think gathering us will solve anything? You have no idea how much pain lies between us." "No," Emily replied, conviction steady in her chest. "But I'd rather face that pain together than allow it to fester." The heat of her words forged a path through trepidation. Margaret paused. "You sound different, Emily. Stronger. What changed?" The question hung heavy, too profound to trivialize with a simple answer. "I've realized that holding on to the past only hurts us. I want us to confront it." Another silence slipped between them, thick with a mixture of possibilities and fears. "Fine, I'll think about it. But don't expect everyone to be on board. There are a lot of feelings involved here," Margaret replied finally, the hint of respect threading through her skepticism. "Thank you," Emily said, the weight on her shoulders shifting slightly. She disconnected the call and looked at Uncle Martin, his raised eyebrow inviting further explanation. "What did she say?" he inquired, note of skepticism intertwining with curiosity. "She's thinking about it," Emily replied, the edges of her anticipation sliced with uncertainty. "She's still angry, though. I'm not sure if gathering everyone will really help." Disagreement creates tension, but it's also where breakthroughs can happen. "Mentally prepare yourself for pushback," he advised, the wisdom of experience etched in his features. A realization settled deep within her as they spoke. Becoming the architect of her family's future demanded not just strength, but also resilience against the tide of resistance. She had opened a door. Now she needed to weather the storm that might blow through it. Her phone buzzed again, and she glanced at the screen. Another name, a more tumultuous history. Would the hope of reconciliation stand or fall at each interaction along this road? "Who now?" Uncle Martin asked, interest piqued. The name flashed across the screen, an unwelcomed reminder of another layer of hurt. "My Uncle Robert," she said, her voice a mix of dread and determination. The fierceness within her surged again, and she realized she could neither turn back nor remain stagnant. With her heart easing into resolve, she answered the call, ready to face yet another fragment of her family's rich tapestry. Would this structure withstand the pressures of carefully hidden resentments, or would the foundation crack, pulling apart the stitches she had so painstakingly sewn together? "Emily," came his sharp voice, laced with skepticism. "We have things to discuss. I hear you've been stirring the pot." The time had come to navigate through the myriad uncertainties. As the echoes of her family crashed against her resolve, she steeled herself. Reconciliation beckoned, but so did the shadows of discord. Would she thrive or wither among them? "Stirring the pot?" Emily repeated, her heart pounding with a mix of disbelief and indignation. Robert had always had a knack for accusing others under the guise of concern, a tactic designed to shield his insecurities. She inhaled deeply, fortifying herself against the familiar sting of his words. I'm not stirring up anything. I just want us to address what's been left unsaid. You can't expect everyone to just come together like nothing happened, he shot back, the edge in his voice betraying his tight control. You think you can flip a switch and make everything fine again? I'm not trying to flip a switch, she countered, a stroke of urgency pushing through her composed facade. But avoidance hasn't served us well. We're all carrying this weight. Wouldn't it be better to finally face it? For a moment, silence stretched between them, thick with the unspoken tensions of the past. Emily felt a tremor within her, a blend of frustration and a newfound sense of responsibility. If she was truly stepping into the role of leader within her family, she had to navigate not just the voices of others, but her own doubts as well. I don't believe it will help, Robert finally said, his tone dismissive. And to be honest, I think you're making a mistake. It's not just about you, it's about the whole family. She closed her eyes momentarily, letting the frustration wash over her. Robert's inability to see beyond his resentments reflected how deeply entrenched their problems were. Yet she also recognized that she had an opportunity here, a chance to turn his skepticism into an ally. Then let's talk about it, Robert. What if it could help? What if we could finally allow ourselves to heal? His pause was palpable, and at that moment, she understood that as much as she aspired to lead this initiative, she had to learn to adapt her approach to resonate with each family member. Each voice had to feel heard, respected, and engaged. You should consider where this is headed. I'm not sure bringing everyone together will bring the results you're hoping for. Maybe, she conceded, allowing the possibility to take root. But if we don't try, we remain trapped in this cycle of hurt. I believe we owe it to ourselves and to Jake to at least make the attempt. The mention of Jake seemed to resonate, edging Robert's defenses down just a notch. It's not just about Jake. It's about all of us, Emily. There's a lot you don't understand about what's happened between me and others. If that's the case, I want to understand. Treating this as a negotiation rather than a confrontation brought a measure of clarity to her thoughts. I'm open to hearing your side. Please just consider joining me in this discussion. Why don't you gather everyone, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm warning you, there may be some very hurt feelings, he replied, with the hint of bitterness still gleaming in his voice. Emily nodded, the tension rising in her chest, tempered by his begrudging willingness. I'll take that risk. After disconnecting the call, a sense of electrification thrummed through her. The first step was merely a suggestion on a fragile, long journey, but she leaned into the discomfort, recognizing it was essential growth. Robert was not yet on her side, but she committed to transforming their painful interaction into a launching pad for change. Building bridges takes time, Uncle Martin remarked quietly, sensing her inner shift. But your willingness to engage is a testament to your growth. She contemplated his words, feeling the dual impulses of anxiety and aspiration swirling within her. The ghosts of the past would not fade easily, but with each difficult call, she was sketching out a plan to reclaim her narrative instead of allowing echoing pain to guide it. Emily set her sights on the next challenge, gathering her family under one roof, willing to confront the hidden wreckage that lay scattered like shards throughout their lives. It was no small task, and yet as she began to strategize whom to contact next, a sense of purpose surged within her like the onset of a thunderstorm. Who would agree to join this fraught assembly, and would her resolve hold together when faced with the torrents of their shared history? Would she emerge stronger, or risk being swept away in the deluge? As the days turned into a blur of coordinating calls and drafting messages, Emily began feeling a sense of inevitability wash over her. Each interaction with her family members, painful and tentative, led her closer to the reckoning she knew was required. Margins of doubt narrowed as she grasped the ambition, crystallizing her role as the catalyst for change. With every name she reached out to, Emily felt an unfamiliar sense of vigor. while speaking with Margaret had felt like navigating through a minefield, engaging with Robert and others validated her quest. Now, she stood at the center of her family's unresolved intricacies, ready to orchestrate the gathering that would set their futures into motion. "Mom, are we really doing this?" Jake broke through her focused contemplation one afternoon, his voice innocent and hopeful, tugging at her heart. His trust in her was a lifeline, urging her toward the culmination of her efforts. "Yes, buddy," she affirmed, kneeling to meet his eye level. "We're bringing everyone together. It's time they know we're stronger. Together." The sincerity in her own voice caught her off guard, awakening a river of resilience within her. But beneath that resolve, the storm of anxiety still brewed. Each day brought another reminder of the emotional stakes involved. Could she truly bridge the chasms that had formed in the wake of her family's past? Would those fragile connections withstand the intense scrutiny of shared histories? As the meeting date approached, Emily felt a mixture of anticipation and dread, each emotion pulling at her with equal force. The weight of responsibility pressed her shoulders down like a heavy cloak, yet she recognized the very act of striving for unity symbolized personal courage and transformation. The day of the family meeting arrived, and as she looked at herself in the mirror, she saw not just the reflection of a nervous woman facing potential conflict, but a determined individual ready to claim her narrative. With Jake by her side, they entered the hall where they would gather with family, ready to confront the delicacy of their shared stories. As Emily stepped into the room, she felt the uneasy ripples in the atmosphere thickening. Tension mingled with hope, mixing fervently. Familiar faces showed signs of wariness, but also of yearning. Conversations paused as family members directed their attention toward her, a palpable current of expectation crackling in the space. "Thank you all for coming," Emily began, her voice steady as she stood before them. "This may not be easy, but we need to confront our past and redefine what it means to be a family." The assertiveness in her words was mesmerizing, echoing with the truth she had uncovered through the process. Yet, as she opened the floor for discussion, a wave of tension enveloped them. Marginalized grudges rode high, veiled beneath tightly knitted smiles and forced pleasantries. Voices echoed, competing to be heard. Stories surfaced like ghosts, haunting the fragile fabric of their unity. Emily recognized moments wherein stories shifted from grieving to contention, and she felt a spark of disquiet. Yet there, in that midst of chaos, her resolve only deepened. If they could face their histories, unearth the shadows behind buried emotions, perhaps reconciliation was within their grasp. With every exchange, Emily guided the flow toward healing, her heart igniting with confidence as she facilitated the discussion, reminding them about the importance of breaking the cycle of silence. Inevitably, small breakthroughs transformed the energy in the room, igniting the threads of conversation that led them to a turning point. An unexpected alliance formed when her cousin Margaret decided to openly share her lingering pain over the family divide. "It's hard to forgive. Hard to look at the family I once knew," she said, her voice quavering as vulnerability embraced the air. Emily felt a ripple of solidarity. It became clear that the pain had resonated deeply within them all. Their stories bled into one another, and with each revelation, the knots binding their shared history began to unravel. As conversations unfolded, guarded postures began to melt, and family members shared laughter and tears, uniting them within a transformative storm of emotions. Emily navigated through frayed edges of bitterness, pulling together the threads of their cherished memories and the reality of their shared losses. The room pulsed with a mosaic of connection, solidarity taking root in the most improbable of places. The energy shifted toward a monumental crescendo as they unpacked not just their grief, but the understanding that it was all part of the journey. "Every one of you carries the legacy of our family," Emily declared, feeling a surge of triumph. "It belongs to all of us. We owe it to ourselves and to those whose stories came before us to take charge of it." Jake, sensing the electric atmosphere, chimed in. I want us to go on adventures together, superheroes helping each other. His innocence hung vibrantly in the air, invoking laughter and nudging old animosities toward the light. Emily's heart soared with pride as she witnessed healing unfolding before her. By the end of the day, they found themselves laughing and reminiscing, a feat unimaginable at the start. Emily realized they took a courageous leap together, forging new pathways to unite their fractured family. In stepping onto this stage, she had emerged, not only as an architect of family healing, but as an empowered individual claiming her identity. As the meeting wound down, her family recognized her as a pillar of strength, admiration replacing skepticism. With her heart full and her spirit invigorated, Emily understood what she had achieved was more profound than simply gathering her family. She had harnessed the remnants of their shared past to forge a brighter, more collaborative future. In this act of leadership, she found herself unexpectedly soaring towards solid confidence, recognized competence unfolding in ways she had yearned for. A sense of fulfilled purpose anchored within her as she grasped the weightiness of this pivotal moment. After the meeting, as she walked hand in hand with Jake, Emily could finally breathe. What began as a storm of uncertainty has now led her to personal fulfillment, her heart swelling with a profound sense of achievement. She conquered the shadows of her family's past, and in doing so, proved to herself she no longer had to be defined by grief. With a mix of satisfaction and pride, she pledged to embrace her identity, acknowledging the transformation she had undergone amidst the chaos. Now, a new chapter awaited, brighter and fueled by unwavering strength. As they headed home, Jake clung to her with unyielding trust. Together, they stepped into the future, unburdened by the past, ready to carve out their legacy anew. This was her achievement, her masterpiece forged amid trials. And she understood this was only the beginning. Whatever awaited them next, she had proven to herself that true strength came from within. And her family was worth every step of the journey. The opportunity she had seized would echo in their lives, reverberating through every decision she would make moving forward. Now, she needed to share this victory. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about this powerful conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this empowering transformation.